And away we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Rob Brown Show on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How's everybody? Welcome in. It is a Tuesday edition of the Rob Brown Show. Great to have you back. What's up, America? Good morning, South Carolina. Howdy, Upstate. We're so glad you're here with us on a beautiful Upstate Tuesday a.m. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure is mine. Directly across from me, a voice that, according to him, you won't hear again until September. The great one, Lonzo's in the building. That's not true, man.
I'm out. Football's over. I'm done.
Yesterday,
You're gonna force me to watch things that I don't want to watch.
it's college basketball season, brother.
So it's like homework.
No,
So
it's
now,
basketball.
so now I gotta watch. I'd rather watch the NBA because that's where the good players
You
are.
can watch the NBA too. Listen, this is the Rob Brown Show, son. There ain't nothing we don't cover on this show. We got
All right, I guess I'll talk.
See? We got, what
But,
do we got?
but only if I get to interrupt.
That's second nature, right? You're fine. According to that one caller, it's all you do. So
No, it really is a thing. It is.
we got a lot of stuff to get to on the radio broadcast today. We'll be talking quite a bit of NFL, specifically free agency and quarterbacks. Derek Carr is set to be released today by the Las Vegas Raiders. He will be a free agent. Could the Carolina Panthers be in on the Derek Carr sweepstakes? If not, could they be in on Jimmy Garoppolo? We've got Shefty reporting today that the Packers, stop me if you've heard this one before, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers are at an impasse right now, and a trade is not only possible, but could be becoming more probable.
Yeah, but talks are not ongoing at the moment. They can't be.
Yeah,
Unless, is he done?
He's locked in a closet.
Is he?
I have no idea.
Is today the day? It was a 4-day. I think it started Friday.
It was a 4-day darkness retreat that Aaron Rodgers was going to lock himself in a sunlight-free closet.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The Packers negotiate again. And we're all very frustrated. I can't think of words that rhyme with frustrated. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers and the Pack move away from each other. The Jets, Jets have put in a call to the Pack and said, hey, if he's available, we got some capital. We might make a move for A-Rod. If y'all are done playing with that shiny new toy, we'll give it a run. So we'll see if that happens or if the Panthers get involved there. Could Jimmy Garoppolo be out there? I am going to tell you later on in the show why Jimmy G is indeed and definitively the correct move for the Panthers to make. We're going to be coming to that later on in the radio broadcast. Coming up later on in the radio broadcast, Texas and Oklahoma have agreed to a separation with the Big 12 that will bring Texas and Oklahoma over to the Southeastern Conference earlier than we expected. They will join them, not this season, but next. The SEC will see the Horns and the Boomer Sooners join up a season earlier than expected. Of course, that is going to come with some scheduling conflicts for the Southeastern Conference. And the idea that has been floated the most so far is for the Southeastern Conference to go with a 3-6-6 scheduling model. That means that every Southeastern Conference team would have 3 rivals that they play every year. You alternate home and away with 3 other rivals. It would also mean that there will be 12 schools remaining. You would need, at that point, to play 6 of them, some home, some away in year 1. The other 6, some home and some away in year 2. In year 3, you would play the 6 that you played in year 1, but obviously flip the homes and aways. And in year 4, you would play the 6 you played in year 2, flip the homes and aways. Earlier this morning, before we came on the radio broadcast, I put up my rivalry list. I put up what I think will be the rivalry matchups for each SEC school in terms of the 3 permanent rivals they'll play every year. I'm going to give those to you later on in the show. And the question that I'm going to have for you is, did I get them right? Who did I leave out? And did I get the Gamecocks 3 correctly? I'll tell you the 3 that I put out there earlier. I'll tell you the 3 that I listed for South Carolina. And I want you Gamecock fans to tell me if I picked the 3 that you would want to see as your permanent rivals, or if I put you into a hole by doing so. Super Bowl ratings are out. According to Nielsen, this Super Bowl, this past Sunday, was the 3rd most watched Super Bowl of all time. It averaged around 11 million viewers, which is interesting, Lonzo. The halftime show averaged 13.5. So 2.5 more eyeballs. About ballparking 17-18% more people tuned in for Rihanna than they did for the game.
So what you're saying is we're going to get more of the same for the halftime show next year and beyond because of if those viewers didn't stay for the game, then how does it help the game?
It doesn't. It helps the halftime show, and more importantly, the most expensive commercials that precede and come right after the halftime show. The problem is, and this is why every year when you guys ask, why is it always pop music? Why is it never rock and roll or country? The answer is because Rihanna brought in 2.5 million more eyeballs for the halftime show. That I love them dearly. The Foo Fighters aren't, right? I love Chris Stapleton. Thought he did an incredible job with the national anthem. Stapleton's not bringing you 2.5 million more eyeballs. He might bring you 2.5 mil, but not additional on top of the 11 point whatever that we're already watching. So we got that. We'll talk about that. And while it is not sports, I feel compelled to talk about it anyway. Because we've made all the jokes. We've had all the fun. I don't know if you guys are over it. I get the feeling maybe it's memed its way out of the spotlight worthy of this show. But I really want to talk about the UFOs.
Okay, so we are talking about that. I thought you were going to swerve everybody and find something else to talk about. But
no.
Okay, all right.
I mean, listen, there's
I changed my mind. I will talk on this show today.
I thought you might. There's a lot going on right now. We got trains blowing up around the country. We got food production plants blowing up around the country. But these UFOs, I've seen a lot of people who have had some, shall we say, strong beliefs about what is happening. And I want to take a run at those.
I can't wait because I have theories. I don't have strong beliefs. I have theories. And I think you should have many theories when you don't know for sure what something is.
I think we'll hit that coming out of the top of the 10 o'clock hour. I think we'll get to the UFOs at the 10 o'clock hour. Now, before we get there, I will tell you, I got no problem with calling them UFOs because they are unidentified and they were flying.
But they're not, the government is not identifying them by whatever the new name for extraterrestrials is. I forget, they came up with it last year. It starts with an A or something, I think.
New name for UFOs. Unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAPs.
I knew there was an A in there somewhere.
Yeah. Either way, we're talking about that coming up at the 10 o'clock hour because I know it's a sports show. I know we talk about sports. I got all that. Yeah, I want to talk about the UFOs. So stick around. 10 o'clock. We'll do that. Now let's get to this. Real quick. Not real quick. We're going to be talking about it a bit today. Derek Carr is going to be released by the Las Vegas Raiders today. He has the ability, the opportunity to sign with any team he wishes and to sign with any team he wishes immediately. Also on the block, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I thought perhaps, potentially, there is a chance out there that Jimmy Garoppolo could re-sign with the San Francisco 49ers. But the report started swirling about a week ago that the relationship between Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan had went straight to the crapper. They are not best buds anymore. No more Cancun trips for Jimmy G and the flat build one. They're just not friends. It's sad. They're not friends anymore. Which, of course, considering Kyle Shanahan took with a third string quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers, to the divisional round of the National Football League playoffs this year. The thought here is that Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere, which means Jimmy Garoppolo is. He is out there on the market. You have what we talked about with Aaron Rodgers a few minutes ago. A-Rod of the football persuasion is, as of right this moment, not talking to the Packers. Now, that doesn't mean he's broken up with them just yet. And again, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme. Packers and the Raj. We've played this game before. But Aaron Rodgers has already had teams calling the Pack to gauge their interest in a potential trade. I'm not saying Rodgers is on the block, but I'm also not saying that he's off of the block at this point. And you add in, just for a little Cajun seasoning on the top, you add in that the rumors are starting to pump out that the Baltimore Ravens could be open to the idea of trading Lamar Jackson. As of right now, remember, you go back to week 1, Lamar Jackson said, we either get a new deal done by week 1 or we do not get a new deal done until the offseason. Well, we are now, ladies and gentlemen, about 36 hours deep into the offseason. And not only is there not a new deal yet, but there's not even conversation happening between Lamar and Baltimore, which means that one of two things is happening. Either Lamar's on vacation and doesn't care that much. He's like, I'll get to it when I get to it. The Ravens are not making things happen, which I suspect, based on the stories we've heard about Lamar Jackson so far, puts Lamar off a little bit. The Ravens have already decided that they are going to use the franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, or the Ravens have decided, let's go ahead and hear out some trade offers. Now, the Panthers, I think, want that to happen. The Panthers, I think, want the Ravens to put Lamar out there for trade offers. Why? Lamar Jackson is a proven commodity. Now, some of you may argue that he's not top-tier proven commodity, right? He hadn't gotten them to the big one yet. But Lamar Jackson, in an age where quarterback play is more important to the National Football League than it ever has been before, has shown you he can play top-level quarterback. If somebody makes a run at Lamar Jackson to try to get him off of the franchise tag and get him onto their squad, they are going to have to come off of an amount of draft capital that will be in the ballpark of what Chicago is looking for the first overall pick. That does one of a couple of things. Number one, it takes a team that Carolina would have to compete with to get one of those quarterbacks off the market for a commodity that I don't think Carolina would put in for in Lamar Jackson. Number two, it likely makes the cost of the number one overall pick from the Chicago Bears a little less expensive. If it's a little less expensive, perchance Lonzo could sway me over to Carolina jumping up to 1 to get to CJ Stroud. But more importantly, it cheapens the market as a whole because Chicago's price for the number 1 overall is going to come down. Somebody is going to pay it to go get CJ Stroud. Houston is going to take Bryce off of number 2, which leaves you with a few free agent quarterbacks still available or potential trade quarterbacks: Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr.
I am curious about something. All right. The 4 quarterbacks you named, which one of those, or if any of those, would cause you to go right out or get on your phone and get season tickets for the Panthers? Because there's only one guy for me, and that's Aaron Rodgers.
Lamar would do it for me. Aaron Rodgers would do it for me.
See, the problem with Lamar is Baltimore had to retool their offense around his style of play. So you bring him in, the Panthers would have to do the same thing. And it is the team as it's built now, is it set up for Lamar Jackson? I don't know if it is or not. I know it is for Aaron Rodgers, though. And by the way, Garoppolo will do well there. I'm not so sure about Derek Carr.
If you ask me, who is better, Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr? You got an answer for that?
I'm going to go with the guy who's gotten further in the playoffs.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Garoppolo.
I don't have a problem with that.
As a Kansas City fan, I've seen Derek Carr play a bunch.
Sure.
And I think he has some inconsistencies. Garoppolo just wins. He gets pushed aside, he gets back in, and he wins. That's what he does.
I'm interested in how many of y'all feel that way. How many of you take Derek Carr over Jimmy Garoppolo? If those are the only 2 available versus Jimmy Garoppolo over Derek Carr. I have to tell you, I don't really have a strong lean either way. I think Derek Carr is probably a more physically gifted quarterback. I am concerned about the injuries of Jimmy Garoppolo. On the flip side, as Lonzo's pointed out, Jimmy Garoppolo has gotten the job done like a couple times, right? So I don't necessarily know that I have a lean one direction or the other. I do think that if you ask me to power rank the quarterbacks available, Lamar Jackson's a clear-cut number 1, Aaron Rodgers a number 2. And the only reason I say Lamar over Rodgers is because with Lamar, I can sign that guy to a 6 or 7 year contract. Aaron Rodgers is going to take tops a 2-year contract, and we might be playing this game all over again in 2 years.
Well, whether you think he's wishy-washy or not, which I think you do and I do not, his age has to come into play. Aaron Rodgers definitely older and near the end of his career. But I still would rather have Aaron Rodgers. You know, there's another reason why I would want Aaron Rodgers is he stays healthy. Lamar does not. And it has to do with style of play. Lamar, you can't stop him from running the ball. So he's going to get hurt some. Aaron Rodgers, so far you haven't had to worry about that too much. Because if you bring in a guy, this is your guy, you bring in Lamar and suddenly he's hurt, you're back into where you were last year.
Yeah. And again, with Lamar, it's going to come down to what does that contract signing look like, right? Because if you bring in Lamar, you got to give him a new contract. You're not going to trade for Lamar and not hook him up with a new contract. And you're going to end up paying Patrick Mahomes money for him, right? The good news is we broke down the Chiefs yesterday, right? We pointed out the fact that the Chiefs have over half of their salary cap wrapped up in 6 players, 2 offensive linemen, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and whoever the one other dude was. I forgot. But the Chiefs have 17.2% of their salary cap racked up in Patrick Mahomes. The other 5 dudes added in, bring it up to around 53% of the cap. And what have the Chiefs done to offset that? They got a hell of a lot of really good rookies out of the draft that they nailed. If you go get a guy like Lamar, like Rodgers, you are going, and not as much Derek Carr, but to some degree Derek Carr, you are going to end up in a spot where you are going to be paying them fat stacks. Thank you, Cleveland. Thank you, Deshaun. Fat stacks of guaranteed money, and you almost obligate yourself to nailing the draft. But if you're going to obligate yourself to nail the draft, Lonzo, there may not be a team better positioned in the National Football League than the Panthers, because it depends on how much you got to give up to get one of those guys, both of whom would have to be traded for. But you got 8 picks. If you can get away with giving up a first rounder and maybe a third and a fourth and some money to get them off the books and get them in Carolina, you're still looking at 5 to 6 draft picks to play with moving forward, which gives you a chance to build up around that guy. The Kansas City Chiefs way, which I think moving forward, and I could be wrong, but I think moving forward, you are going to see more teams trying to emulate Kansas City. Let's go get 5 or 6 dominant players, 5 or 6 Pro Bowlers, stack them around the field, and then let's just consistently work the draft to put together a revolving but young and cheap football team. And Carolina's absolutely got that potential right now. So let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we have given you the quarterbacks that are on the board. Out of the draft, Stroud, Young, Levis, Richardson. On the free agency market, Garoppolo, Carr. For trade, Jackson, Rodgers. You are the Carolina Panthers general manager. When we come back, I want you to give me the move that you make right now to give Carolina the best opportunity to take over the dumpster fire that is the NFC South next season. We'll play around with that a little bit. We'll get to our SEC, my proposed SEC rivalries and more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Be right back, guys. Got it live. Don't go anywhere. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you. Prioritize the quarterbacks. Give me the order that you would want to see the Panthers place on the available quarterbacks. They are, in the draft, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Those are the first-round guys. In free agency, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. And via trade, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers. Now, for the conversation's sake, let us assume that the Ravens are willing to trade Lamar Jackson and the Packers are willing to trade Aaron Rodgers. I do not know that either one of those guys will be available. We have played this game before with the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and it didn't really get us anywhere. Lamar Jackson is a big question mark. I bring up Lamar, making the assumption that Lamar is not happy with the Ravens. Remember, about week 12 or 13, Lamar had a big game, and as he was leaving the stadium, he walked over to the crowd, and he took a sign out of the hands of a fan that said, "Pay the man," with big fat dollar signs and his number on it. So knowing that that was the case, that Lamar seems unsettled, and the fact that the offseason is on and there have been so far, granted it's only been a couple of days, no conversations between the Ravens and Lamar about getting him a new contract. I will, for the sake of a fun conversation, assume that Lamar Jackson is a possible trade target. Rank them and the order that you want them. Call me 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, and tell me who your number one is. Or text your order in to 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, at 71307 and let me know. Here's the order I'm going after these guys, Lonzo. Tell me what you like and what you don't. Number one, I think I've settled on Jimmy Garoppolo. He is a free agent. You're not going to have to spend as much money on him as you would Rodgers or Jackson, knowing that with Rodgers, you're going to get maybe two seasons out of him, which leaves you right back in the same spot you are now, just 2 years down the road. Now, granted, if there was ever a point in time in the Panthers' history that you would be happy with getting a Pro Bowl quarterback for a single year, it's this year. The division is wide open next year. With Lamar, you are going to end up investing a massive chunk of your salary cap into the guy. And as you pointed out, and I think correctly, Zoe, you will have to retool your entire offense around Lamar Jackson. He plays a different style of quarterback than you have played in Carolina. Granted, with Frank Reich, who knows if he's capable of doing that or not. So I think I'm going to go Jimmy G first. After Garoppolo, I think I am going to go Will Levis through the draft. Now, I see a lot of you guys. In fact, we've already got our first text at 71307 that says, "Fan, rolling with Richardson and hope Frank can work magic." Now, that's not a bad thought. Frank Reich is known as one of those coaches that is a bit of a QB whisperer.
I hear that name a lot. It just seems like a whole lot of settling. If you're going to go with a young quarterback and you're going to go for the draft, you need to go for the whole thing, not settle.
So I think the point with Richardson, as we've talked about, as I mentioned,
is it not settling though?
No, I don't think it's settling. I think it is. You have got sitting in front of you right now a stockpile of draft picks. Those picks translate to up to 8 players in this draft. We talked yesterday. I laid out the numbers, the positions, the players for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have drafted 22 players in the last 3 years. 20 of them have played quality snaps for the team. 17 of them played in the AFC Championship game of the Super Bowl. 10 of them have played in over 50% of the snaps between those two games. I think if you are looking at a Richardson or a Levis at number 9, you're kind of following that strategy. Yeah, those guys might not be CJ Stroud, but we don't know what they will be. It's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. But what we do know is that with 8 other picks, the likelihood, assuming you got a good scouting department, is that 2 or 3 of those guys are going to hit and turn into players. So I can get one of those quarterbacks that is a crapshoot, but both of whom are prototype quarterbacks, right? They may not work out, but they also might. Will Levis is, if you ask me to create a player at quarterback in Madden, it would be Will Levis. He's got the height. He's got the stature and the build. He's got the accuracy. The only questions we have about his composure. And coming out of Kentucky, I absolutely think it's fair to say, you get the right guy to coach the headstrong part of the game. Will Levis could be that dude. Anthony Richardson has all the physical tools of a Lamar Jackson, right? He's got the speed. He's got the agility. He's got the endurance. He's got the arm. He could be as good as Lamar Jackson. The problem with Richardson is, how many times did we watch that guy collapse in big games for the University of Florida? Again, that's a head issue. Frank Reich's a QB whisperer. He's a guy who knows how to work with the mentality of quarterbacks to get their heads right. If he can get Anthony Richardson's head right, he could be as good as Lamar Jackson. So you're gambling on QB in order to keep up to 7 other picks that could turn into dudes, right? Isaiah Pacheco was how important for the Chiefs last year. That's a 7th round draft pick out of Rutgers.
But you're also counting on the Panthers organization to draft as well as Kansas City has.
Yes, I am. And I would say that about any of the other 31 Kansas City teams.
By the way, the Panthers have drafted really well.
Yeah. That's part of the
reason. At least their number 1 picks have been really, really good.
That is part of the reason that I am saying that my first overall pick would be Lamar, but I feel like you're giving up all 8 picks for Lamar Jackson, and you can't really improve the team anywhere else if you do that. And at a point in time where you can't really improve the team anywhere else, you're going to be giving that guy probably a $200 million guaranteed contract, maybe more.
All right.
He's going to want Deshaun money, and Deshaun got a quarter bill.
The one thing that I don't like about your list the most is Levis, because if you're going to draft, you need to go up and go for it and not settle. I think in order, it's got to be Aaron Rodgers first if you can get him, CJ Stroud second, then Garoppolo, then Carr last.
Here's my list. You ready for it? I got you the whole complete list right here. In order, Jimmy Garoppolo is my first pick. Free agent, don't have to come off $200 mil for him. Second, Anthony Richardson at number 9. Guy's got all the physical tools to be Lamar. I put him in the quarterback, and I got 7 more draft picks to work with.
We just talked about having to change the offense, and you're comparing them to Lamar. You still have to change the offense if you go with that guy.
But the difference between Lamar and Anthony Richardson is that I can work with Anthony Richardson. He's a rook. I can mold him. It's a meet both ways scenario, right? With Lamar, Lamar's Lamar, and he's been in the league long enough that you're not going to get a lot of change out of Lamar. You're not molding Lamar. Anthony Richardson is a guy that, you got to change the offense for him, but you can mold him to fit the team a little bit as well. That's why he's attractive. Third, I'm going Lamar. If we get to this point, I would go Lamar Jackson. I'd give him probably 225-ish guaranteed. And I would make him that 20% of my salary cap quarterback. And then hopefully I got enough left over to build around him. But believe that with the team that the Panthers had last year, that I will win the division and put myself in a playoff spot, make myself attractive moving forward. After Lamar, I go Levis. I think Levis is, again, kind of a prototype pocket quarterback. He might be the best fit for Frank Reich. And again, young mold, all the tools. I go Rodgers after that. Rodgers is very similar to Lamar. You're going to be giving him a $200 million well, you're probably not going to give him that much, equal to. But with Aaron Rodgers, as we mentioned, you're getting him for, at most, 2 seasons, right? Which means 2 years from now, we're going to be in the exact same spot that we're in right now. Now, that's not the end of the world, Because I think for at least 1 year, this division's going to be trash, and it gives you a great run at the playoffs next year, and a guy who has been to and won the dance before, so he knows how to get you there. And then I put Derek Carr last. I put Derek Carr last because I think you get more benefit out of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's going to be significantly cheaper, right? The Raiders are waiving him, and he turned down the or he elected to maintain the no trade clause, right? New Orleans made a push for Derek Carr. They really wanted him. He said no trade to the Saints or anybody else. Why do you think he did that? Because he knows what the market for quarterbacks is going to look like, and he knows.
So you're not going to say it had anything to do with him going to New Orleans and going, never mind.
No, I don't think so, because I don't think he takes that meeting in the first place, right? I think, again, he's got a pre-existing relationship with Dennis Allen. But I think if you look at New Orleans with Olave, with the fingers crossed return of Michael Thomas, with Alvin Kamara, that offense is a quarterback away from putting up better numbers. Remember, the Saints this year were about 4 total snaps away from being, 9-8 and winning the division? As bad as the division was.
I'll say that could be said about just about every team in the
right.
South.
But if Andy, let's rewrite the history books. If Derek Carr is the quarterback instead of Andy Dalton last year, the Saints win the division. That's not saying a lot. The NFC South is trash.
Yeah.
But if Derek Carr is the quarterback, the Saints are in the playoffs.
Maybe
they're getting smoked in the opening round.
Maybe even had a winning record. Yeah. Maybe.
Again, that's what I think let Derek Carr take that meeting. But even after the meeting, Derek Carr was informed of the value of the quarterback market right now and told you may not land in the place you want to land ultimately, but you're going to land there on a pile of dollar bills. You interested or not? And I think he sees that. So I think Derek Carr is probably going to command more money out of the market than Jimmy Garoppolo is, predominantly because you don't really have the injury concerns with Derek Carr. With Jimmy G, you do. But as you pointed out, the offset of that is that Garoppolo's been to the NFC title game. He knows how to get to that spot as a quarterback. So I think you get the cheaper guy with more success over a guy coming off a 6-9 record who saw his completion percentage dip, his yard per game average dip, and his touchdown to interception ratio dip. I think you go with Jimmy G. So the order I'm putting them in is Jimmy G out front, Anthony Richardson second. I'm going with Lamar Jackson third, Will Levis fourth, Aaron Rodgers fifth, Derek Carr sixth. That's the order I want quarterbacks prioritized for the Carolina Panthers. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? You guys hit me up. Texture says, you can build a team with Anthony Richardson and the run game and defense will win this division alone. I'm not disagreeing.
By the way, it's going to be really hard to not win this division. So I don't think you can throw that out. Yeah, but with him, we could. Yeah. Have you seen the division? You get a mid-level quarterback. You're going to win this division.
But isn't that to some degree an argument for taking one of the guys out of the draft that doesn't cost you your whole thing?
There should be more than trying to win the division. There should be trying to get to and win the Super Bowl.
I don't disagree, but step one is making the playoffs. There is not a wild card in the NFC South.
It's going to be really hard to not make the playoffs. All you got to do is win the South, and the Panthers. Overall, the team is set up and ready to go. Need that quarterback. That's why you trade everything and go up and get CJ Stroud.
I disagree because I'm also thinking long-term here. I'm thinking big picture.
So am I.
Right?
I absolutely am thinking long-term.
7 draft picks to get CJ Stroud. If CJ Stroud does anything except come in and be an absolute gangster,
I don't believe they'd have to trade all of them. I think they'd probably have to trade like 4 and then some later on. But you're taking that gamble with anyone. You can make the trade. You can make the trade for Aaron Rodgers and give them a bunch of draft picks and a bunch of money. He can come in and be hurt and be done.
You're not wrong, but I have quantifiable numerals behind Aaron Rodgers. Right? I've got quantifiable evidence that Aaron Rodgers can get it done. Same with Lamar Jackson. Same with Jimmy Garoppolo. But the argument for just taking one of the guys available at 9, Levis or Richardson, is you're right. The South should be easy to win next year, which means my quarterback can get carried by the run game and the defense in year number 1 and have a year to learn on the field as opposed to under a mentor on the sidelines. That's another argument for Richardson or Levis. All right. A couple of you guys have texted the show. When we come back, I want your thoughts on this. Rank the quarterbacks. Who do you like? Who do you dislike? Text 71307. Start your text with fan, or hit us up on the phone line at 844-326-3663. We'll take a look at some of your texts and thoughts when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I don't disagree with that at all, Joe. But again, like how much? Because it's not only going to cost you your draft, right? It's going to be a Ricky Williams-esque trade, because at the end of the day, the Ravens can just franchise tag Lamar, right? Like this is you've got to give us a reason not to tag him. And that dude's going to want a $250 million contract that is equal to Deshaun's, right? He can make the argument. I think it's a fine argument, but he can make the argument that if Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played football in 20 months, is worth that money, then I am definitely worth that money. And it's a good argument. So you might trade for Lamar, get his rights for a year, and then he's gone. And now you've given up a Ricky Williams caliber trade for 1 year for a dude. It's not just about trading for Lamar. It's about trading for Lamar, making Lamar happy so that he wants to give it all he's got. Lamar gave it all he got this year for the Ravens because he knew good and gosh darn well that he would get 1 year under the tag in Baltimore, and then he would sign a free agency contract worth that much somewhere else. That's a tough angle. You got to go low and straight, right? Sure it is. You just got to spiral it. I think you got to go spiral and
You know what it is? So if I get it directly where I need to, that knob sticking out or whatever that is, I'll catch it.
I don't think you can go. You can't go that way.
Just go throw it really hard. It's never going to work. Come on, cleaning crew.
And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer.
You got to get my hair cut. I'm looking too much like a Gallus boy.
Like, oh.
If you don't watch NXT, then you don't know what I'm talking about.
Your current reigning tag team champions. Unless they lost it last night. I didn't watch. No, it's tonight.
That's tonight. You think you can tell someone's politics by how they rank the quarterbacks?
No, I don't think so.
I think you can.
I don't think you can. I think that you make the assumption that I rank Rodgers low because I just
wasn't talking about you. Wasn't talking about you. We're getting lists in.
We are getting lists.
Yeah, I'm not talking about you. I know where you are. I know exactly. I don't need to. I don't need any of that. In the end, it doesn't matter. I'm just a thought.
I think
Most of the people who are anti-Aaron Rodgers, if they had him on their team, they would not be.
Yeah, no, I think with most things.
Yeah, I can't stand him. I can't stand him. Oh, he's our quarterback. Love that guy.
I think
that guy is awesome.
I think all of us fall prey to tribalism. But what tribes we prioritize over our other tribes, right? Like a lot of people will fall into politics and tribalism.
Right. I rooted for Elvis.
Football team above them.
I rooted for Elvis Gerbach when he was a
exactly.
quarterback, and
Exactly.
it hurt.
All right, let's get a couple of text, tweets, comments on the live stream available at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show on either YouTube or on Twitch. Joey B pops in. He says, my order is Lamar, Stroud, Carr, Jimmy G, Young, Levis, Rodgers, Richardson. Any chance you have to get a top 5 to 7 quarterback that's 26 years old, you do it. Talking about Lamar. And I don't disagree, but as I said to Joey B on the stream, because we do have conversations off the air during the breaks, what I said to Joey B was this. Acquisition costs are what make me tentative about Lamar. You are not only going to have to give up, I genuinely believe, a New Orleans Saints Ricky Williams-esque trade haul for him, but then you got to keep in mind that thanks to the Cleveland Browns and giving Deshaun Watson $250 million after he didn't play football for a year and a half, Lamar Jackson would be absolutely justified to ask in the same market. Otherwise, you got Lamar for 1 year, and then you're right back in the same spot with 7 or 6 fewer draft picks for it. I don't love that. I don't love that at all. Hudson chimes in. He said, Jimmy G and Levis, Hooker, Richardson, late round. Same as number 1, only Carr instead 3, Lamar 4, CJ Stroud at 9th, and then Rodgers. You're not getting CJ Stroud with the 9th overall pick in the National Football League draft. I will figuratively and metaphorically eat a shoe if CJ Stroud falls to 9. There is no chance. The Bears are looking at
there are some things you
historical.
should never say on the air.
That's why I said I will metaphorically eat a shoe.
You did say figuratively.
And metaphorically eat a
Yeah,
shoe.
well,
I
figuratively
will not
means
eat
you.
it, literally eat a shoe.
Okay, all right.
Figuratively, metaphorically, I will eat a shoe if CJ Stroud's available at 9, but I'm not even
So
worried about
you're
that.
non-committal then, because I mean, if you really believe that, you go in for the real shoe.
Right, there's no benefit back to me on the other end. If it was like, if he is available at 9, you eat a shoe, and if he's not, you get $100, I would put that on. I would absolutely take that.
See, I would do that and bring in a cake-shaped shoe. I mean,
All right, let's get a couple of your text in here. Text said, could Frank Reich fix Cam Newton? Man, that ship sailed, right?
Yeah, I hate it, but Cam's done.
That ship has sailed. No is the answer. And I wouldn't take the risk at this point. Cam's just aged out of that spot for me. Texas said you can build a team with Richardson in the run game and defense will win this division alone. Yeah, again, part of the advantage the Panthers have here is that unless, and I say this with some lulls, unless the Atlanta Falcons hit on a quarterback, the division belongs to Carolina next year. I'm a Saints fan. The division belongs to Carolina next year unless Atlanta hits on a quarterback. But I haven't seen Atlanta making any push yet. I don't think they're going to ride with Desmond Ridder into the fold, but I haven't seen them making a push yet. So I think you've got some room to play. Texter said, give me the 10th through 15th quarterback every year in the draft. That's the one that usually becomes a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't go usually, but it has happened. Texter said, hey, Rob, what happened to Hendon Hooker? He's fallen off the map since he got injured. Haven't heard anyone talk about him. He could be a late round draft pick. Yeah, no, Hendon Hooker is, I probably should put him on the list. Problem with Hooker is with the surgery, he might be ready for training camp. I don't know if I want to take on a rookie that I can't guarantee is going to be ready for camp and week 1, right? Because then I'm going right back to PJ Walker. I don't love that. All right. Oh, and Texas said, rolling with Richardson. Hope Frank can work magic. A lot of Anthony Richardson takers out of the gate. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, the Southeastern Conference is going to have to change the way they schedule things. I built my 3 rivals list for every team in the SEC. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to ask you what I hit, what I missed on, and if I got the Gamecocks 3 rivals correct, we'll do that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I'm going to show you guys the Valentine that I sent Courtney. That is better than you gave it credit for.
I'm multitasking here. I couldn't give it the attention
Fair
that
enough.
it
I respect
deserves,
that.
but I didn't want to ignore you. So
That's a great Valentine's offering right there.
yeah, I hope you didn't just get his flag.
No, not at all. Did you get got by that Tubi commercial during the Super Bowl?
No,
You did not?
other people in the room did.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, it's a commercial.
My text message blew up.
I thought it was funny. I'm surprised they don't do that kind of stuff more often. But as the keeper of the remotes, if you're sitting on it or if you've accidentally touched it. I was like, I did not touch the remotes. That's a commercial. But apparently it got a lot of people though.
Kalima! Thank you, Joey B. I knew I could trust you.
Really, there's only one person that needed to get it.
I made it.
Yeah, with your reach, it was a foot. I mean, come on.
Roses are red, violets are blue. If they're busy on V-Day, the side piece is you. It's phenomenal. Did you watch Raw last night? The Cody Sammy segment? Nope, leave it.
Nope,
All right,
not doing it. Now you got to quit ruining. You're ruining
So
the
I
whole
just
thing.
can't talk about anything?
No, the whole point is I'm supposed to give you something, and you're supposed to tell. If you talk about it beforehand, I mean, it's your deal. I mean, I came in and it was already, and you can say that but I think it cancels it out if you talk about it before you get to that segment. You're absolutely right, by the way, and it was trending, but now it's off the list.
I'm just bringing it up anyway.
You can bring it up at any point in the show. I mean, you know, it's your show. It's even written on your shirt, which I cannot believe you've gone an entire hour and haven't pointed that out yet.
I got a baseball jersey, y'all. It's dope, right? It's sick. Got it in the Saints colors. What with the classic baseball nameplate across the back?
FM 1330 AM Greenville, 97.1 FM 950 AM Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound, but you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3. There's just one more time. And on your computer at
TheFanUpstate.com.
When it comes to the best sports talk, let's get this all going, man. Listen to The Fan Upstate on Odyssey no matter where you are. In the car, at home, at work. Download the free Odyssey app on your phone. Search The Fan Upstate and you're in the game. Hey, now we know. The Fan Upstate. The Fan Upstate.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3. The official sports voice of the Upstate Fan. CBS Sports Radio. Live from the free Odyssey app.
Hey, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents me to win. Yeah.
The unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only on
The Fan.
At T. Bailey Jackson 1 says Lamar, Stroud, Young, Carr, Jimmy G, Rodgers, Richardson, Levis would give Baltimore anything they want for Lamar, assuming he signs long-term, would give any number of picks to Chicago for the first pick. The rest just seem like settling, end quote. Yeah, I mean, I get that. But I guess this is maybe just the way I approach my life. Like going all in on a limited market when nothing is guaranteed is rough, man. Like it's just the cost of acquisition so damn high for these guys. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The second hour numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Texter says, Rob, just eat a well-done steak. It's the same as eating a shoe. Yeah, well-done steaks are ruined steaks. I'll stand by that till I die. You just ruined a perfectly good steak.
Which, you know, you could do if you eat a steak that's too rare and, you know, get some sort of, you know.
The only way it's too rare is if
organism
it's still walking around and mooing.
So you would cut it right out the cow and eat it.
Just show it to the grill. Just hold it over the grill for a minute.
Just a little smoking, just a little bit.
All right, let's get into this. Texas and Oklahoma have reached an agreement with the Big 12. That agreement is going to allow them to depart the Big 12 after this upcoming football season and join the Southeastern Conference in 2024. It will be at that point that the SEC will have their full slate of 16 teams. When they get there, the scheduling will have to be reworked. Now, there have been discussions about, do you go to 4 14 pods and have pods play each other, similar to the conferences of the National Football League, or what? And the discussion has been that more than likely, whichever scheduling model the SEC goes with, it will involve teams having 3 rivals that they play every single year. They will then rotate the other 12 teams, 6 on, 6 off their schedule, also alternating home and aways with those teams. With that in mind, Rob Brown did his best to try and build a format that would allow the rivalries in the Southeastern Conference, which are natural rivalries, to fill in the gaps. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I came up with. For the Southeastern Conference, the rivalries shape out this way. Florida would have 3 rivalries. They would be Georgia. You got to keep the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Tennessee, Florida-Tennessee has been a great rivalry. And Vanderbilt. Now, one of the things that happened here, so that you guys know what I went through when I put this together. There were some rivalries that you just have to put in there. Florida-Georgia is one. Alabama-Auburn is one. LSU-Ole Miss is one. Texas-Oklahoma is one. Texas-Texas A&M is one. So I filled in all the rivalries that must exist in the Southeastern Conference, in my opinion. Then I went and I moved on to the secondary rivalries, the rivalries that don't have to exist, but the SEC's better if they do. LSU Alabama is one of them. Alabama Tennessee is one. That's a must-have rivalry. And then basically I filled in the blanks on the grid, and then I just picked the best of what was last to kind of complete the puzzle. So for Florida, I ended up with Georgia, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee. I got to have Florida, Georgia. I got to have Florida, Tennessee. I had a blank for Florida at the end, and naturally, that's where a lot of me wanted to plug LSU into. And maybe I could have, but LSU only had one slot left because they had Ole Miss, one of their older rivalries, and Alabama, because I want LSU Alabama every year. And I plugged Arkansas there because you got to have the battle for the boot. So LSU's 3 were eaten up. Vanderbilt was left over. For Georgia, I have obviously Florida. I also plugged them in with Auburn to have the oldest SEC rivalry remain in place. And then I have Georgia, South Carolina as it's a border war, as a rivalry I wanted to continue. For Kentucky, I put them in, and I will tell you that Kentucky was one of the last teams to get rounded out. Kentucky doesn't jump off the page to me as having any rivalries that I felt were mandated, right? So Kentucky got Arkansas, Mississippi State, and South Carolina. I asked Lonzo when I got to Kentucky, I had a few schools left. Kentucky had to be finished. Vanderbilt had to be finished off. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I ran them all by Lonzo, and I asked what team would he say is the third rivalry for the Gamecocks, and Lonzo said, after this year, it's got to be Kentucky, right? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, because that's not settled.
Yeah.
That is not settled. We'll see what happens this coming year. But South Carolina and Kentucky have kind of went at it a bunch through the years, but it got upped by a certain Kentucky coach.
It sure did. It got upped by a certain Kentucky coach who decided to make it, I won't say personal, but personal. I think there's a little bad blood there. For Missouri.
And by the way, on both sides, because Shane Beamer handled it how he should. Putting them glasses on, baby.
For Mizzou, I put them down for Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. A lot of the teams further west just got grouped together. For Tennessee, I went Alabama, South Carolina, and Florida. The Florida-Tennessee rivalry's got to stay. Alabama, Tennessee hate each other. And then I think Tennessee, South Carolina has kind of, especially again after this year, has kind of developed a little something there. So South Carolina's second rivalry I've got them down for is Tennessee. For Vanderbilt was the last team to get finished up. Lonzo, if I asked you who Vanderbilt's rivals are, could you tell me?
No.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
No, I could not.
I couldn't either.
So like everybody?
Or nobody at the same time. So Vanderbilt got filled in last, and basically they got stuck with who had a gap that needed filling in. I got Auburn, Florida, and Ole Miss. For Alabama's, Lonzo, was the easiest one for me. If you have ever been around an Alabama fan, when the song Dixieland Delight plays, they have a little chant that they do within that song, which, by the way, hilariously, is about a girl in Tennessee. But that's another segment for another time. Anyway, in that song, the Bama fans scream, bleep Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Now, while it sets Alabama up, I believe, with arguably the toughest 3-team slate in the SEC, at the same time, they literally say, bleep those 3 teams in a song that they sing collectively at Bryant-Denny every home game. So Alabama gets Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn. Got to keep the Iron Bowl there. Iron Bowl! Arkansas ends up with Mizzou, Kentucky, and LSU. Mizzou is out west with Arkansas. LSU, Arkansas is the battle for the boot, and Kentucky was left. Auburn gets Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Alabama. There's the Iron Bowl, the oldest running rivalry in the SEC, Auburn, Georgia, and Vanderbilt was left. LSU gets Ole Miss, Alabama, and Arkansas. LSU's oldest rival, go to hell, Ole Miss. They get Alabama to give us that SEC, old school SEC West matchup, and Arkansas for the Battle of the Boot. Ole Miss gets LSU in that rivalry. Got to have the Egg Bowl with Mississippi State, and there's a spot for Vandy to be plugged in last. Mississippi State is another one of those teams that it's like, okay, they got to have Ole Miss, but who else is a rival for Mississippi State? I plugged in Texas A&M and Kentucky. Texas A&M because that's kind of a fun little rivalry, and Kentucky because they had a spot left. So Texas A&M gets Mississippi State, Texas, and Oklahoma. I'm keeping the Big 12 teams together. Texas gets Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Mizzou, and Oklahoma gets Texas, Mizzou, and Texas A&M. So if you were paying attention there, South Carolina's 3 rivals, Lonzo, ended up being Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. Did I get the 3 rivals for the Gamecocks correct?
Absolutely. It would be nice if South Carolina could beat one of those rivals a bunch and not like once a decade. That would be good. I'm just specifically talking about Georgia, obviously.
Sure. The bad news is you're catching Georgia at a point in time where Georgia is the number 1 program in college football. But at the same time, it is a border war. And if you are going to win,
they're only the number 1 team in college football because of a horrible kick. Anyway, worst kick in all of humanity.
All of humanity.
Yeah, since
a lot of kicks.
Since the cavemen decided it was to kick the rocks through something competitively.
Worst kick since the Neanderthals, says the great one. Since Homo erectus began kicking the snakes or whatever, worst kick ever. You catch Georgia at a real bad time, as they are the best team in college football right now, but they won't be forever. And that kind of opens you up in an interesting direction moving forward. I think South Carolina, Tennessee has built itself into a rivalry. And especially, like I mentioned, after this year, I think South Carolina versus Kentucky has kind of built itself into a rivalry. Gamecock fans, did I get your rivalry correct? I think I did. I think of the other 15 teams in the SEC, once Texas and Oklahoma get in, I think that those 3 are your natural rivals. You got the border war with Georgia. You've got, especially after knocking them out of the playoffs this year, South Carolina, Tennessee has kind of developed into a fun little one. And then you get the Beamer v. Stoops Bowl with Kentucky. So Gamecock fans, did I get it right? Who would you have subbed out? If I give you Georgia as a must-play rival for the Gamecocks, who would you sub out? Tennessee or Kentucky? And who would you sub in? Diddy just texted into the show. My boy Mike said, I want Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia. I mean, obviously you got the Spurrier connotations there, right? But, and I'm asking this as a question. This is not me disagreeing with that. I'm asking this as a question. Is Florida-South Carolina a rivalry? It doesn't feel that way to me. I mean, maybe a couple of years ago when you guys beat them roughshod in
I'll
Willie
say
B.
it wasn't this year.
No,
For
it was
sure.
not this year.
Yeah, this year.
But
it was
also, South
stacked.
Carolina did smoke them the year before that in Columbia. They traded those two. And like I said, I'm asking this as a question. Are there any Gamecock fans that believe or consider Florida as a rival that should go into this slot when you only have 3 perma rivals?
Have you seen those? And I have one, those T-shirts with a fish, and your team is the main fish eating other fish. Florida is on that shirt. So I'm going to say that maybe Florida should be, because, marketing is never wrong.
Sure. So who are you taking off?
I guess Kentucky. I don't know.
I would say you got. I don't know, man. Like, so again, when I was putting these rivalries together, there were a lot of different criteria I used. I used obviously historic rivals. I got to have the historic rivals: Auburn, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, Georgia. But aside from the historic rivals, I also kind of wanted to line up competition, right? I wanted to line up competition. That is part of the reason that Alabama got Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn. You got the old school rival in Auburn and Tennessee, and then I think Alabama, LSU's got a chance under Brian Kelly and Nick Saban to be a very back and forth rivalry for a long time.
I think it makes it a little more difficult for South Carolina because their absolute rival is not in the SEC.
Sure, you're absolutely right. Florida's the same way. Like, Florida, Georgia's a great rivalry. Florida, Tennessee's a great rivalry, but Florida's main rival's Florida State. That's why they play them in rivalry weekend. But there are SEC rivals. So the question I'm asking here is, you've got 3 perma rivals to select out of the SEC. If you could have any 3 you wanted, who are you plugging in? Now, I took it a step further and tried to build the whole composite. I tried to take it a step further and build a rivalry schedule out for everybody. For South Carolina, I ended up with Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. Some of y'all have said Florida. If I am substituting Florida in that spot, then I can pull Kentucky, I guess, and stick Florida there. But then I gotta change up Floridas and all that, and I don't want to think through that on the air because I will get discombobulated. I could flip South Carolina, Florida, and plug Florida into Tennessee spot and just flip them around with Florida, and that would work. But do you want to get rid of Tennessee as a rival? Is Tennessee a lesser rival for South Carolina than the Gators of Florida? That's what I'm asking you, Gamecock fans, today. And I want your thoughts. Texter says,
Come on, there's nothing worse than hearing Rocky Top played over and over again.
home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top. Woo! Rocky Top. Okay. Texas says Auburn versus LSU must remain. Games in this series are epic. The barn burner, the earthquake game, 5 fourth quarter interceptions, victory, cigar, etc. It's hard to lose that game. LSU Auburn was one that I had a very hard time not plugging in there. I had to keep Ole Miss for LSU. That is just a classic rivalry going back to the Billy Cannon days. LSU, I mean, I guess I could flip Alabama off of LSU's schedule and move Auburn on. Auburn's got a spot with Vanderbilt that I'd be happy to move LSU into that spot. But then that creates an Alabama-Vanderbilt rivalry. Do we really want poor Vandy to have to see Bama every year? I don't know, man. You're right, though. Auburn-LSU has given us a hell of a run. JT and Greer says Florida is more of a rival than Tennessee. Okay. What makes you say that, JT and Greer? Genuine curious. Again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm genuinely curious. Do you consider Florida more of a rival for the Gamecocks than Tennessee? And if so, why? Is it the Spurrier back and forth? The fact that he left y'all and went back to Gainesville? Is it the fact that you've had a few good games in recent memory? What makes you say that? JT Greer says Georgia-Tennessee is a hated rivalry game. I mean, it is. Maybe Tennessee gets plugged in with Georgia, but I also kind of ranked him on awareness of the rivalry outside of the rivalry itself, right? Like the Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama. You don't have to be an Auburn fan or a Bama fan to know the intensity at Auburn, Alabama. You don't have to be a Florida, Georgia fan to tune into the world's largest outdoor cocktail party that's not and see the hatred between those two teams.
You keep talking about that. My understanding is that no longer is called that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Wink, wink. Yep, absolutely. Definitely. Finger guns. Yep, it's not that.
You can't use those either.
Finger water pistols. Pew, pew.
It's still not. Yeah.
Texas said, do you need a volunteer to call in and sing Dixieland Delight? No. And not because I don't want you to do that, caller, but because Lonzo would have to work the dump button hard. I don't want to make him work that much.
Yeah, I'm having a day off today. Leave me alone.
Fair enough. Texas said, Rob, the 3 true SEC school best rivalries are South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Right or wrong? The 3 true SEC schools best rivalries are South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. You have to rephrase the question, Believer, because I don't understand the question. Are you saying South Carolina and Georgia and Florida have the best 3-way rivalry? Because no. I would say Auburn, Alabama, and LSU is a better run at that. I would say Alabama, Tennessee, and Auburn's a better run at that. I would say Georgia, Auburn, and Tennessee is a better run at that. JT and Greer says, yes, it is because of the Spurrier connection. Texture says, South Carolina is Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia. We don't care about Kentucky. All right. So you guys want to knock Kentucky out and plug Florida in. I'll rework it. I can rework it around that. Believer said, Rob, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Kentucky make better rivals than USC. Ouch. The dig at the Gamecocks. Texture says, Rob, does the increase the numbers of the Orange Crush for the Gamecocks to squeeze out the juice of that's from Believer. He said, with Texas coming in, there's more orange teams. I get it. South Carolina ends with Tennessee, Texas, Florida, and Clemson.
Yeah, 2 hours ago, I requested that engineering remove orange from my computer, and Rob was a witness to it.
He was like, oh, there's orange in my background. Chris was like, yeah, and? Lonzo's like, I hate orange.
No, I said, it's not a bit on the radio.
That's true.
Let's get rid of that.
He did say that. All right. So there's the rivalries I've got built for you. I got South Carolina lined up with Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia. Are you dropping one? Are you adding one? And who and why? 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN. Obviously, we'll read them on the air. And, of course, tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo One Word. If you want to see the full chart of rivalries that I created this AM, then you can go to the Facebook page at facebook.com/thefanupstate or the Twitter page at twitter.com/thefanupstate. The full charts are posted there for your loving, caring, affectionate responses. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
By the way, Jets have just been scrambled again.
Got another one?
Sorry, time for Lonzo to eat because I am consistent.
$87 off every day. But hurry, these $10 savings in this month. Text energy to 200.
I sent you something.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That's actually kind of brilliant.
I thought you would enjoy that from a like,
Yeah, that's kind of brilliant.
Fees on your checking account? You need Simple Checking from Home Trust Bank.
I guess they match the speed of the tires
Simple Checking services for free.
as long as they're
and aren't long enough to get wrapped up in the
as long as they're
axle.
30 miles an hour or less.
It's everything you need from a checking account, but no hoops, no surprises, no monthly fees. Stop by today or call 800-627-1632. Simple Checking at Home Trust. Ready for what's next. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
No stare at your phone.
Yes, NORAD is suddenly trending, and I've looked and apparently it was scrambled again.
Gas, groceries, vacations, most everything seems to have increased in cost these days. At My Affordable Braces, we believe that everyone should be able to afford confidence and a beautiful smile without breaking the bank. My
I mean,
Affordable Braces-
Kevin, we could say that, except they haven't, right?
New technology means fewer visits.
Georgia, Bama, LSU 2019, like they haven't beat themselves out of championships. The benefit you get in being that strong of a conference, not that at least yet Oklahoma and Texas add too much competition to the ranks, is that when it comes poll time, you absolutely get an SEC boost, right? We've seen it. Excuse me.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric, we offer same-day scheduling to meet your needs. Call Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric today or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.com.
Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
Coming up on a Super Tuesday episode of Offside with Mark Ryan and Diesel, who is going to be the next NFL team to win their first Super Bowl? We will tackle them. We'll also define dynasties. How close are the Chiefs? We got Can We Stop? And so much more, all in a Super Tuesday episode.
Number one for real afternoon sports talk.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7 on the Fan.
Upstate.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
Texter says, I'm with you, Lonzo. I hate orange. Texter says, upstate for South Carolina, it's all about Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, Georgia. Great divisional games. Look forward to them every year. Let me go back and pull up the second half of that text message. Hang on for me. Great divisional game. Best measure of who's improving. Yeah, in fact, Diddy texted a minute ago as well. And he said, to be the best, you've got to beat the best. Where have I heard that before? And Kentucky ain't the best program.
I see. I should never try. I can't. I just can't. I can't woo.
We'll learn you one day. We'll get you there.
I can country woo, but I can't Ric
Woo.
Flair woo.
Woo!
I can go woo, woo, woo. It just doesn't work. It's not as good as the Ric Flair woo.
I get that premise. And that's why I made sure to throw in the addendum onto my list there.
James said Vandy's rival is the SEC schedule.
Just the SEC as a whole. Vandy's rival is existing. There were some spots where I just had to fill in teams, right? Like there were just spots that I had to plug in a team because somebody had to play somebody in that rivalry. And when I was getting towards the end of it, Kentucky was there. You had the rivalry that happened this year with Mark Stoops and Shane Beamer and the culture change versus climate change with funny sunglasses and dancing. Obviously, the Gamecocks beat Kentucky, but if I recall correctly, Will Levis did not play in that game. He was in a walking boot, which kind of took away from it a little bit. But the point there was I had to plug in somebody. I think there is an organic rivalry developing between South Carolina and Kentucky. Whether it fully develops or not, I don't know. But they had to get plugged there. I understand the concept of wanting to have the 3 best teams available on the schedule. But you also got to keep in mind that Tennessee had some rivalries that I think needed to be protected there as well. The Alabama rivalry had to be protected. Tennessee, Florida had to be protected. So, and honestly, Tennessee, South Carolina had to be protected. So the other aspect of that is it's not just about the rivalry on your end, but it's about the fact that every team only has 3 spots. Tennessee, Alabama can't go anywhere. Tennessee, Florida can't go anywhere. They had 1 spot left. South Carolina fit the mold perfectly for Tennessee. Because I wanted to keep a couple of the old divisional rivalries alive and well as well. So that would fit. Diddy said, Kentucky makes sense. I think it's more that Florida whooped our bleeps for so many years until Spurrier, and ever since we've actually had a chance against them and beat them quite often.
Except for last year. Yeah.
Which I want that one back, right? Like if you're the Gamecocks, you want that one back. That one in the Mizzou game. Anyway, Texture says, does Vanderbilt even have rivals? I mean, yeah. Everybody beats Vandy. Texture said, a little sad that Lonzo would dump me singing Dixieland Delight. Well, only if you do the Alabama version. Alabama filled out their own rivalry sheet by singing Bleep Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too.
Admittedly, I don't know the song the way that Rob is saying it. So I'm a little dump happy lately. So I mean, you call in, you're probably getting dumped pretty quickly.
Nick on the Twitter says, for Texas, sub out Missouri for Arkansas. I see what you're doing, trying to link the old Big 12 schools, but I think leaning more towards the old Southwest Conference is the move. Yeah, I mean, I get it. But I also think that that's one of those spots that it's like, tradition's important in college football, but when did the Southwestern Conference die out? I couldn't even tell you. A very long time ago.
Wait, there was a Southwestern Conference?
There was. Nick goes on to say, also for LSU, switch out Arkansas for A&M. That's been a more relevant rivalry in recent years. That was a tough one for me. I wanted LSU A&M in there. But I wanted A&M group with the other schools further out to the west, which automatically filled out Texas and Oklahoma. And B, for LSU, I wasn't dumping Ole Miss, Alabama, and the battle for the boot between LSU and Arkansas is a trophy game. If your rivalry game has a trophy connected to it, it got a couple of extra bonus points in the rankings. Chris said, Bama fans will be bleeped at this. Yeah, I would absolutely argue that Bama got the toughest of the rivalry game groupings. Bama got the toughest 3-game stretch out of anybody in the Southeastern Conference with Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn. But again, which of those rivalries am I dumping to make it easier for Nick Saban? Not Tennessee. Certainly not Auburn. So LSU? Do any of y'all want to lose Bama LSU as a matchup? I don't think so. Kelly wrote in. She said, no, Vanderbilt is not a Florida rival sub LSU. And again, that's fine. But who am I dumping out of LSU's slate? Am I dumping Bama? Am I getting rid of LSU, Alabama to make Florida LSU? Bama's already, do I put Vanderbilt on the Bama schedule? That seems like a matchup I don't necessarily care about. Vanderbilt ended up with Auburn, Florida, and Ole Miss. Tough stretch for Vandy if Florida makes it back. Not the end of the world. So it's like, is that one? I don't know. At Rocky Top Vol says Tennessee should be Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Florida. I didn't think a Tennessee fan would want to get rid of Alabama. I didn't think Tennessee would want to get rid of Bama. They hate each other, right? I mean, there are a few of these, Lonzo, that are rivalries of convenience. There are a few of these that are rivalries of geography. LSU, Arkansas is one of them. There are a few of them that are trophy rivalries. And then there are a few of them that the teams genuinely and the fans just genuinely hate each other.
There's no perfect way to do this while being limited to 3.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's gonna be a few that get left out. I agree. Let's see. JT and Greer says South Carolina versus Missouri has a trophy. It's the Battle of Columbia's. Yeah. But that rivalry is what? A few years old?
It's older than that. It's got to be at least 10.
When did Mizzou come into the SEC? It was, I don't remember. 2012. So it's a 10-year rivalry. I mean, I don't know.
No, give me some over here. I said
That's fine.
I said 10.
You were all over it.
Give me some.
You were all over it. But Mizzou is, I mean, again, I don't see, maybe it's just me. I don't see South Carolina Mizzou as like a rivalry worth jumping hoops through, right? Or jumping through hoops for. Just because I don't know, man. And I guess that's the other part is just because you play in cities that are named the same, right? That'd be like if I'm like Georgia, Mississippi State, because I want the Bulldogs to play each other. Like, all right, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, there's your rivalry talk. Looking for your thoughts. Who do you like? Who don't you like? Who would you change in? Who would you change out? South Carolina got Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia the way I drew it up. Would you dump Kentucky and who for? Let's take a break. When we come back, Lonzo has informed me, ladies and gentlemen, that more fighter jets have been scrambled. I do not know for what yet, but when we come back, I am genuinely, honestly curious about y'all's thoughts on these. What did we decide they were? AUPs? UAPs? UAP, I think.
I think it was UAP. Yeah.
On these UAPs, these UFOs. I want to talk a little bit about that when we come back because it's interesting and I want to. So that's what we're going to do. And it's next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
What do you do? You look out the window and see balloons.
Shoot them. I mean, what kind of balloons are we looking at here? Big, giant, white ones way up in the air?
Yes.
Or like a birthday balloon? Because
No. About the alien.
Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you, it finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter is what you're looking for. A needle in the haystack.
So I almost didn't get to see the Super Bowl Sunday because I slipped down the stairs again. There's a certain kind of rain that, maybe the balloons brought that dropped some stuff on
we're
it.
going to have to take this show big so you can put one of those chair elevators on your stairs.
Dude, I don't need one. It's moss from the trees gathering on the stairs, and a couple of the steps, the tape that I put on slipped off. I was taking the trash out, and there I go. And I twisted my bad knee, but I caught myself this time and didn't hit anything. but I'm feeling it today. A couple of days later, feeling the twist. I should commend my surgeon because what a good job he did. The fact that the wire is still held up since 1987. It's that moment when you're holding the rails and you're sliding and your feet just keep going. And you're like, here we go again. Come on. I'm so shocked I didn't get splinters from the rails. So that's the other thing. Rails are covered in moss too. So when you grab the rails, you're sliding on the rails as your feet are sliding.
Do you have a pressure washer?
I
feel like you should pressure wash your stairs. Like
I have
every
like an
3 days.
attachment to do that. For my hose, but I don't think I have the kind of water pressure it would take. And it's only during a certain kind of rain. It's not slippery today. Everything's fine. It was just Sunday. There was that heated rain and whatever was in the trees came down and got on the steps. But in the end, better me than somebody else. If someone had to go down, I'd rather it be me.
If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com. Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Hey, drop what you're doing and clear your schedules. I heard Cole's got
He still can't fix my recording problem.
Really?
So now the only way, he has a couple solutions that he's going to have to teach me about. No, Kevin, I'm not clumsy. If I was, I'd probably be dead now. Admittedly, I did always wonder why older people fall down, but your joints get stiff and stuff. But my problem is moss, and it's inconsistent moss, and I just got to maybe get some sticky paint. No, there's paint that has like I forget it's not quite stucco, but it's for outdoor things that gives you a little more grip for your feet. And the other thing is, I haven't bought new shoes because Rob made fun of my shoes. So my shoes have no traction on them because I need new shoes. But I don't know how to go buy new shoes because Rob made fun of me. And so I'm afraid I'll get another pair and get made fun of. So in the end, it's all Rob's fault.
Putting my headset on because I don't want to hear it anymore. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one, Lonzo. Lonzo informed me during the last break that there was another round of fighter jets that have been scrambled. We know that we have had, what I believe, 4 UAPs. Well, actually 3 UAPs or UFOs, whatever you want to call them.
It was a busy weekend.
It was. We had, obviously, the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down off the coast of South Carolina by Myrtle Beach. Then we had an unidentified object shot down over Alaska. We had an unidentified object sighted over Montana. And we had one shot down over Lake Huron, though we do not know if that was the same one that was seen in Montana.
My understanding from what I've seen is they're scrambling in Michigan again.
In Michigan, okay?
So I think it's Canada messing with us.
Just playing a prank on the downstairs neighbor.
Where better to do it than in Michigan?
Have we tried grabbing a broom and just hitting the roof? Knock it off, Canada?
Yeah, we should do that.
So the spy balloon was shot down, and then since then, we have seen now a number of UAPs that have been shot down, and the conspiracy theories about them have been, as I told Lonzo yesterday, absolutely giving me life. They make me so happy when people are so confident as to what is happening here. Now, I will acknowledge that the timing is odd when you consider the train explosion that's happened in Ohio, when you consider there was a second one, I believe, in Texas.
I just saw a second ago, and I don't know, Chris Weidman tweeted, UFC fighter who's also lives
Yep.
in South Carolina about a derailment in South Carolina, which I can't find, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So here's what I'm going to go with. I love the conspiracy theories, the "they're here" memes, the "they walk amongst us" memes. I love them. I've even contributed my own, which is these are aliens showing up and they have the cure to both world hunger and terminal diseases. And we keep shooting them out of the sky before they can land and go, here's a pill, eat it once, and your nutritional value for the rest of your life is taken care of.
By the way, Richard says that happened in Innery,
Okay.
which is not far from where I live. So,
Well, they know about you.
well, yeah, of course I'm on their radar or whatever they use. I will say there was a famous philosopher in the 20th century who let all this know that this was going to happen. Her name was Nana. And she,
No. Nana, it's your grandma.
no,
We
no,
know
no,
that.
no,
Lonzo.
this was Nana. And she talked about red balloons, specifically 99 red balloons. And in that great edict of philosophy and prediction, she talked about scrambled jet fighters and she talked about balloons, and she was completely accurate. I'm not sure if she shaved her armpit hair yet, which was very famous in the 20th century. But I think she should be commended and should have been listened to, but we didn't. We didn't do it.
She also sang half that song in like a weird alien language.
No, she sang in German.
Yeah, I know that was a joke, Lonzo.
Okay, all right.
That was the joke. I'm aware.
Which could actually originate from aliens. We don't know.
Very well aware of 99 Luftballons. Anyway,
Which
look,
was a protest about war and other things, and talked about balloons and jet fighters, and now that's what we're seeing.
so let's go with to crap all over the conspiracy theory fun.
No, let's see them aliens, Rob. Let's see them.
To crap all over the conspiracy theory fun. Let's start with if these aliens are aliens.
Don't you think Rob should be wearing his glasses on his nose while he's doing this? There we go.
If these truly are extraterrestrials, sorry. If these truly are extraterrestrials, the technology that they possess in order to accomplish intergalactic flight, working under the assumption that they did not come from our own solar system, the technology they possess would also, I think, fairly lead me to believe that they also would possess the technology to cause some pretty big time destruction on planet Earth if that was their goal. If their goal was peaceful negotiations, discussions, conversations, whatever, then yeah, we're probably going to look back at regret at shooting them out of the sky. But with all of that being said, as of this moment in time, we do not have justifiable evidence to believe that these are actually extraterrestrial creatures that have come to visit us. Occam's razor would lead us to believe that these are man-made pieces of equipment. Now, just because you do not know what those pieces of equipment are does not justify a rush to believe, well, then obviously they're not man-made.
2 days in a row with this Ockman's thing.
Occam, but yes.
Yeah, Ockman.
But no, yesterday was not Occam's razor. Yesterday was, I forgot the name of it.
Gillette.
No. It was Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor is do not credit to malice that which can be explained by stupidity. Occam's razor is the most likely reality is the most likely reality, right? What is more likely? That our first contact with extraterrestrial beings was seen over Lake Huron and was one-shotted by an F-16, or
Dude, have you ever been to Michigan? I mean, come on.
okay, let me rephrase that. If the first place that the aliens went was Michigan, we're going to have to rethink the concept of intelligent life. I'm sure Michigan's beautiful, but they went straight to Michigan?
I'm sure it's not.
Michigan? That's where you went, Michigan. If I offered you one free trip, all expenses paid to go anywhere in the planet that you wanted to go, and your response was Michigan, my response to you would be, never mind. I retract my offer.
My response would be beautiful South Carolina.
Wherever. It's not Michigan. The reality is, the most likely explanation here is that these are some sort of man-made tech likely designed for surveillance. And if the best argument is the very first one we saw was within minutes figured out to be a balloon with a computer dangling off the edge of it and a camera attached, right? Now, I know they're coming in all different shapes, right? We've had, I think the one over Alaska was cylindrical. I think the one over Lake Huron was octagonal, right? So they're coming in different shapes and sizes. But you know what else comes in all different shapes and sizes? Literally everything we make. Literally everything we make has different shapes and sizes. So, well, one was a tube and one was a hexagon. And so are soda bottles. That doesn't mean Coke is from another planet. I'm not saying it's not, but it's probably not, right?
No, it actually comes from drugs, which could also come from another
True.
planet, I suppose.
You're not technically wrong, which is the best kind of correct. The point here is, yes, there's something happening, right? But the likelihood that this is ET showing up for the first time and this is first contact is very, very low. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying the chances that's what it is are very low. Act one of Mars attacks will likely be much more compelling than a cylinder got shot down over Alaska.
We come in peace.
By the way, if you haven't seen Mars Attacks yet, go watch Mars Attacks. One of the greatest cult classics of all time. Anyway, they're likely not extraterrestrials.
We all gonna die. Stay tuned. We'll tell you when.
It's much more likely that these are just pieces of surveillance equipment that got away from whoever it was that put them up. And on top of that, if there are more, I'd be willing to bet $1 the military's got eyes on. Okay.
I don't know about you guys. I think Rob read that really, really well. Propagandist.
Or just guy logically thinking through instead of panicking about the xenomorphs arriving.
Let's see them aliens.
Back after this for the third, final, best, and sports-centered hour of the Rob Brown Show, maybe. This is the Fan Upstate.
So,
I found these new pens called the Wright Bros, W-R-I-T-E. And I bought them because I love the pun, and it turns out they're great cheap pens,
yes.
but the caps do not stay on them when you click them to the bottom of the pen.
So I think as Rob leaves the room, the question is when they're identified as aliens, will he come on and apologize for being wrong?
No, I want to apologize because I'm not wrong. I haven't said they're not. I've said I have no reason to believe they are.
Ah.
There's a difference.
GetRefunds.com/sports. Click on Qualify Me and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited period of time. Don't lose out on up to $26,000 per employee. Go to GetRefunds.com/sports. That's GetRefunds.com/sports.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts.
That's true, Stephen.
Join live classes with a language teacher.
Unless they were here on a visa, then that probably would be bad.
Babbel, évidemment. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
I have. I can't speak for anybody else, Kevin. I will say this. Where else are you going to get some 99 Luft balloons references?
We cover that, but we cover the Goldfinger version of it, which is much more rock.
I would, if you listen to the words, though. She told us it was coming.
99 Luft balloons. Go bam 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 bam.
The only thing is, you know, Captain Kirk hasn't been involved yet. Everyone's a superhero. Everyone is Captain Kirk. Rob can only wish that he could write a lyric like that.
I do. I absolutely do. That's some long-term booking.
Say the same thing about Nostradamus. I mean, you know.
You ever read Nostradamus' predictions? They're so vague.
They are very vague. I agree.
One day, there will be a red building.
But the question is, would there ever have been a red building without their predicting that there would be a red building? Because someone saw there's a prediction of a red building.
Same great show, new time. Now 9 to noon, only on the Fan. Upstate. Now CBS Sports Radio.
On the radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville, 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey app.
It could be true, Kevin, because he doesn't turn his back to the camera.
Well, now because I got this dope jersey on.
A jersey that you still haven't really talked about on the air, only on the stream.
Stream exclusive.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Stream exclusive. Because if people see it, they're going to want to buy it, and they can't. So, I mean, you know, there's that. I didn't even get one, and I'm on the show. So, I mean, why would you guys get one?
In fairness, I only got one.
101 over there. Whatever. You just want to walk around in the collector's item.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are so glad to have you along for the ride. I gotta shorten the wire. I gotta go buy new headphones today, Lonzo. Check. There we go. Nope. We're gone. Nope, we're back. Nope, we're gone.
I would suggest you put a little extra cash into. I think people always go get the cheap headphones, but my headphones usually last a couple years.
For the record, I have
And,
these.
and I'm still using the ones that that I retired for extra headphones for other people. So
I had these before I got here. I've had these the whole time I've been here. Which, by the way,
a testament to how much abuse those things are
3
take.
years of me.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we are about 2 weeks away from my 3-year anniversary.
When do you stop, caring about your?
When I show up and my key fob doesn't work
Okay,
anymore.
yeah. Says the guy who's now working on his 24th year here. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I do.
All right, let's get to some stories we have not gotten a chance to get to so far. I'm going to run some audio here. Great one, if you don't mind. Let us start with, there is a conspiracy theory going on in the National Football League. I'm going to play 2 clips. One is the whole clip. One is a chunk pulled from that clip. I'm going to start with clip number 4, if you don't mind, Zoe. Clip number 4, this is Chris Jones, excellent pass rushing defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs, and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. After the game was over, Goodell walked up to Jones, gave him a hug. Chris Jones was so delighted about winning the Super Bowl that he picked up Roger Goodell and swung him around like a groom would a bride on their wedding night. But it's not the hug and the swing that got me. It is something that Roger Goodell seems to have said within that hug. Listen to it. See if you can pick it out the first time, and then I'll run that back for you the second time. Here's Chris Jones and Roger Goodell. Were you able to pick it out?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
And I listen for a living. All I hear is static.
Okay.
I mean, obviously there are 2 people talking. This would be like a surveillance microphone or something where they didn't, weren't able to isolate the audio. I think you can actually take out the background noise from this.
Well, let me pull the clip for you. Let me go to 4A. Listen to this. This is the isolated portion of Goodell talking to Chris Jones. Listen to it. See if you can pick it out. Then I'll tell you what I believe he says and run it back and see if you can hear it. What I hear Roger Goodell saying to Chris Jones is, I don't care. I don't care how you hit the quarterback, followed by an exuberant Chris Jones going, ah! So listen for the voice. It is quiet, but listen for Roger Goodell saying, I don't care. I don't care how you hit the quarterback. Did you catch it?
Yeah, but I think that was a Karen going, because they couldn't get, someone's attention.
There's another lady in the background, but Chris Jones at that point very clearly does like an Ultimate Warrior. After Goodell says it. Run it one more time if you don't mind, Zoe. If you missed it, it very much sounds to me like he says, I don't care. I don't care how you hit the quarterback. Now, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not freaking out about it like a lot of people are, because at the end of the day, they are celebrating a Super Bowl. Roger Goodell is on the field to hand the Lombardi off to Andy Reid and the rest of the Chiefs front office staff. And Roger Goodell is in the middle of a party. And I think more than likely all of us have said something at a moment of jubilation that, if taken out of context and wrapped and delivered elsewhere, would sound pretty bad. I'm literally saying it's not a conspiracy, but that's okay. We'll roll with the music just because we haven't heard it in a minute.
You know what? When there is a conspiracy, someone saying there isn't one is to cover up a conspiracy.
Did Roger Goodell say he doesn't care about quarterback safety to celebrate a scripted Chiefs win?
You're a little off.
I know, I haven't done it in a while. Hang on, sorry, can you start it over? I'll get it right this time. I gotta do better. I can't point at the red jacket and then screw up one of our bits. Did Roger Goodell tell Chris Jones that he's not concerned about quarterback safety? Say it. Thank you. Does the NFL truly have a script? Did Chris Jones get accolades for following the script? Dang it, it's been so long. All right.
It's my fault because it's inconsistent.
It is.
This could be a conspiracy all on its own. Like I was setting you up to not be able to
I think
do
you changed the music from last time and didn't tell me. That's
no,
what it is.
No, I did not. It's the same because that would require effort I'm not willing to put into. Plus, we love this music.
Listen, I think at the core, even Roger knows that while I'm 100% in favor of protecting players, now that we really know the dangers of CTE and multiple concussions, etc. At the same time, the era of football we're in where a finger being grazed along a quarterback's helmet, immediately drawing 15 in an auto first, it can be frustrating. And I think it may even be frustrating for Goodell because on one hand, he's got to protect this image that the NFL cares about CTE and concussions because otherwise they're wide open for multi-million-dollar lawsuits. But on the flip side, in that moment, the commissioner of the NFL was celebrating the handing out of a Lombardi trophy to a Super Bowl winning team to the best pass rusher on that team and probably didn't know that there were microphones pointed at him. Now, it does go to my lesson that once again, ladies and gentlemen, don't say anything outside of your house that you wouldn't say to the person that you're saying it about.
Yeah, like the president doesn't know, oh, there was a live mic? Well, yeah, there's always one around
You're
him.
the president.
Just like people in a room full of microphones who are chastised quite often about not saying certain things in case a microphone suddenly makes its way on.
Correct.
I do have a question. This is related. Who gets the Tom Brady treatment now? As far
Patrick
as
Mahomes.
so he does.
100%.
I don't think
100%.
so.
He
I don't
is-
think
he
so.
is the
Hey,
babyface of the
here's
NFL.
here's what I believe. That now that Tom Brady's gone, the Tom Brady rules where if you barely touch someone, you get the roughing goes away because you don't have that guy, that whiny baby. Oh, he touched me in the league anymore. So now it goes back to how it should be, where you could actually sack a quarterback.
You don't have to and will not like it because you don't want your guy to be considered the new Brady. But too late, dog. He's on the Madden cover with Brady for a reason. The NFL is handing the torch off to Patrick Mahomes. So, yes, he will be getting that treatment. That being said, love that sound. Love the people looking into that sound. It's fantastic. It really is.
It's someone looking for something. Did you hear what he said? Oh man, we gotta do it's okay. Come on.
I think it's fine when you've got Roger Goodell
Trying to
multiple
ruin
times.
moments. That's what they're trying to do. Try to make your own moment by ruining someone else's.
No, I don't think so. I think it's absolutely fair for a guy who sits in front of a room full of media multiple times a year with a microphone and goes, we don't care about anything more than we care about player safety. And we understand the dangers of CTE and quarterbacks getting concussions. And we're going to do everything we can to limit that and stop that. Then walking up to a violent pass rusher and saying, I don't care how you hit the quarterback, dog. It is absolutely a counter opinion to the one that he gives when he is on the mic and he knows he's on the mic in front of the media. It runs directly in opposition to the stance that the league has taken for many years, where they say contact with the quarterback's head is something we care deeply about. And now the commission is saying, I don't care how you hit the quarterback. Those are diametrically opposed. But I do agree that to some degree, I'm sure Roger Goodell knows that the kid glove treatment the NFL has given to quarterbacks has taken away from the game. They've in the name of player safety, which is a good thing, which we're all for, they've maybe gone too far to the point that it's impacting the game in a negative way. And I think Goodell knows that. But again, he can't outright say that to the public because it does fly in the face of everything the league has said.
I feel misled because coming into this segment, I didn't know what was said. And I thought this was going to be something that you're going to come at Goodell hard on. And this was going to be a thing that we could not get around and that this would be the end of Goodell, he told a defensive player, doesn't care how hard you hit the quarterback. If that's exactly what he said, there's so much static in there. And as you and I had a conversation just yesterday, I thought I heard something I didn't hear until you told me what it said, and then suddenly I heard it. So it's white dress, blue dress, whatever. It's that sort of thing. So without hearing the full conversation, we don't know exactly what was said. And through that audio, Johanna, I don't believe that I can convict the commissioner for what was supposedly said, but no one here in the jury of the listeners will attest to the fact that they, without a stout.
Without a stout? I'll have a stout.
Or a doubt.
I'm a big stout guy.
So easy to get him to perk up.
I'll have a stout.
That they don't know what was said. I don't know what was said, Yana. You don't know what was said. So you got to let it go.
By the way, I'm not a stout guy. Don't like stouts.
I don't know the difference between that. To me, it's something served in a stein, possibly. So I don't know.
I will say this.
I like that nodding disapproval. I mean, So I'm wrong. A stout doesn't come in a stein.
Oh, any beer can come in a stein.
Okay, all right.
The audio is relatively conclusive to what he says, but as I said, I have no doubt that I have at a large celebration probably said something that taken out of context could make me look bad if used the right way. But again, it certainly sounds like he said something that runs diametrically opposed to what the NFL stance is.
I just also want to point out that someone I know doesn't really like Roger Goodell, so maybe they might hear something that's not actually there.
You're welcome to play the audio again.
No, I don't want to.
I heard what I heard.
I don't want
and
to.
I think you heard what I heard too.
I think you've led the jury a certain way, so they believe that's what's said by saying, "Oh, here's what it says," without actually. I mean,
I played it twice before I said what I think it said.
And that first audio was nearly impossible to hear. The second was
pulled directly from the first.
Was better. But you did something to make it where you could actually hear it a little bit.
I put a little
better.
static reduction on it. That was it.
I will. What I will do after work, because it's still work, is I will.
You are welcome to clean it up.
I'm going to eliminate the static as much as I can, and we'll see if Rob was right. And if he was, fine.
Oh, I was, but I will take more evidence. All right. Second thing I wanted to get into. Let me go to clip number 3A. This is Frank Clark. Frank Clark is, of course, a defensive end in the National Football League, where he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is now a Lombardi Trophy winner. Frank Clark was asked about the conditions on the field for the Super Bowl, and this is what he had to say about it. Frank Clark said it was the worst field that he's played on in the NFL level. Hassan Reddick said that it was the worst field he's ever played on. And it got progressively worse as the game went on, not just because the field itself was bad. Let me grab clip 3. This is Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. He joined the Pat McAfee show, and he discussed why the grass got significantly worse after halftime.
It was the Oompa Loompas. Knew it. Knew it was the Oompa Loompas. You cannot trust them.
I blame them for everything. Take your stupid, weird, white, puffy snow jackets somewhere else. He said the grass was bad enough in the first half, and then once they rolled and by the way, if you haven't seen it, you can go to YouTube and you can watch the setup of the halftime stage in a time lapse because they have effectively 5 minutes to set that stage up. And keep in mind, that includes hanging those podiums, the floating Mario Smash Brothers stages, the stage itself on the field, which comes in multiple pieces. They got to drive big old semi-trucks. Well, not semi-trucks, but like, what do they call them? Deuce and a halves out there to set that stage
Still
up.
ain't figured out how Rihanna took Zelda out from that top platform. But
Falcon Punch! So they did all that. And Rappaport says that the reports he got were that it compressed the field down, it heated up the grass, and of course with the trucks and the stages and all that out there, that makes sense, and that it did not give the grass time to recover and cool back off and solidify again during halftime like it would have if there was no halftime show. The interesting part of all of that is that the NFL spent almost $1 million in collaboration. Words are hard. In collaboration with the USGA, the United States Golf Association. They had the USGA take a few different kinds of grass, mix them together to come up with a hybrid field in order to give that grass, which, by the way, before the game started, it looked beautiful.
did the USGA bring out a few hefty linemen to test it before they did all that, or just John Daly?
I do not know.
Okay.
What I do know is the grass was a mixture of two types of Bermuda grass and a strand of ryegrass, first created back in 2006 at Oklahoma State University. Since 86, the USGA has spent roughly $50,000 to fund turf grass breeding at OSU. The NFL chipped in for this particular one as well. It replaced the Tifway 419 turf that is traditionally used at State Farm Stadium. They rolled out 600 rolls of 40-foot by 3.5-foot sod strips, laid them on a tray weighing 1,600 pounds, rolled them inside and outside over the 2 weeks to get them enough sun and water and get it treated, and the field sucked.
Why am I the only one picturing Bill Murray in Caddyshack explaining to Chevy Chase about his new grass that he's designed?
Just a Cinderella boy, tasked with delivering the Super Bowl field and becoming a Lombardi champion. The grass sucked, the field sucked, and I will tell you, straight up top to bottom, the field was a bigger negative influence on the game than any penalty called within it.
Oh, for sure. Both teams were slipping all over the place. So I'm wondering, will the NFL go back to the PGA ever again for advice on playing surfaces? Because obviously it didn't work.
That's a great question. I wonder genuinely how long ago they put that turf down. As Lonzo pointed out, that's the thing is you're not going to test it on the Super Bowl field, because if you go out there and you screw the turf up, right? Now you got a big old gash in the field before the Super Bowl, and at the end of the day, like it or hate it, the Super Bowl is a spectacle on television, and the presentation of that game is as important as anything else. So they wouldn't have done that. What I will say is, hey, NFL, it may not have been quite as lush or quite as green, but you know who knows a little thing or two about operating the field at State Farm Insurance Stadium or whatever it's called? The freaking Cardinals, dude. Maybe just have the teams that run the building, because you and I both know there's nobody who cares more about the field and the production capable of on it in Arizona than the team that plays half their games in Arizona. Maybe just let them run it, because while I understand what I understand in terms of we need the presentation to look good, the same quality was taken out of the game by the fact that it was obvious within about 3 drives that the field sucked. The field was trash. They pointed out in the broadcast how trash the field was. They literally did a close-up on Jalen Hurts' cleats because between the first and second quarter, Jalen changed kicks. He changed boots. He went to the Air Force One spikes with longer spikes on them in the second quarter. Maybe just do things to give us the best game possible. Because while I understand production value and the optics on the television are mucho importante for you, so is making sure we get a great game, right? This game was the third most viewed Super Bowl of all time. This game could have threatened at number one. I think a lot of people were excited about the halftime show, but I don't think without announcing that we got a star-studded mashup, I think that lost a little bit, even though Rihanna had, 2.5 million more viewers than the game itself did at any given point. But I think there were a lot of different things that came into play, but I think the penalty probably drove the ratings down a bit because I know a couple of people walked out of the room when that flag got thrown, and it was obvious Kansas City was going to win that game without a miracle. And the fact that these guys were just slipping and sliding everywhere.
Yeah, come on.
Made the game less
don't
quality.
throw the penalty in there. I mean, that was the end of the game.
I don't disagree, but some people walked out. I'm not saying
Were those people Philadelphia fans?
or at least had
Kansas,
money on Philadelphia.
Or Kansas City haters?
Maybe. By the way, I was at a party with 24 people, Zoe. The overwhelming majority were pulling for Kansas City. Nobody was pulling against them. It was either Philly or I just hope we have a good game. I'm just here for a quality game. And we got one, but the field didn't help. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Got a couple segments left to go. You're listening to Rob and Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to the Fan Upstate.
still want to move and we still want to get around and we still want to be active, but we start to deteriorate the moment we quit moving.
QC Kinetics regenerative treatments help restore movement in stiff, aching knees, hips, shoulders, and back. Using only your natural
Hope there isn't like a
properties to help
leak or
restore
something
muscle
out there.
tone.
You can taste it. Ugh.
It's working. And what I really like about it is there's nothing foreign put in my body. Everything that was put in my body has been taken from my body. I love it. I love
What?
it. Like I said, I want to live until the day I die.
Get rid of the pain and start moving again.
It's a good call.
QC Kinetics today for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. That's 864.
There have been some hires in the last little bit. Colts. No, the Colts hired
yeah, we're
offensive
gonna come to that.
coordinator, and Caldwell was hired by the Panthers as a consultant. I saw those, but I didn't think it was breaking newsworthy. But I mean, yeah.
And right now you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text ENERGY to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text ENERGY to 200-300 right now. Text the word
I really hope my stuff works.
Don't wait, text ENERGY to 200-300.
My computer. I really hope everything
Oh.
works. As we near, the next phase of my day. Actually, the part of my day that I spend more time in.
Sponsored by Taco Bell. The new crispy melt taco is now at Taco Bell. It's a freshly fried shell with a melty cheese blend and your choice of seasoned beef or black beans inside. Try it today. Participating Taco Bell locations for limited time only while supplies last. Contact local stores for prices, hours, and participation which vary. Tax extra.
Coming up on a
You can definitely look at it that way, James, for sure.
Mark Ryan and Diesel, who is going to be the next NFL team to win their first Super Bowl? We will tackle them. We'll also define dynasties. How close are the teams?
Dynasty.
And so much more, all on a Super Tuesday episode.
Number one for real afternoon sports talk.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7. The
Upstate.
Fan. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
The Rob Brown Show's back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Got a bunch of NFL news dropping right now. Got a few things to get to. The Baltimore Ravens have hired Todd Monken to be their offensive coordinator. Todd Monken's name you have heard pop up a couple of times over the years, primarily because Todd has been serving recently as the offensive coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs. He has been in that position for the 2020 through 2022 seasons. Todd Monken has done exceptionally well there. He was announced earlier today as the OC for the Ravens after Greg Roman vacated that office. Greg Roman is moving to, it looks like, Washington. He was interviewed for the Washington offensive coordinator spot earlier today. The Colts have announced that they have officially hired former Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen as their new head coach. He, of course, was just in charge of the run to the Super Bowl for Philadelphia and was a very hot commodity. As a matter of fact, he interviewed for the Carolina Panthers job. He was one of the names that Rashad Beard, who will rejoin us on Thursday, and we'll get into all of this with him, named as one of his target candidates for that position. He is now back in Indy, which shows me that, and obviously not going with Jeff Saturday, maybe Jim Irsay got his emotions back under control, which is good news. But B, Carolina was hitting on some targets that had some heat for jobs around the rest of the NFL as well, which is good news. They were not just gambling, but they were gambling intelligently.
It also means that still on the table, quite possibly, Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob
Cooter.
Which is a possibility because the Panthers have agreed to terms with former Detroit head coach Jim Caldwell, but Caldwell will not be in an active coaching position. Jim Caldwell will be signing on with Carolina to become a senior assistant to Frank Reich, which I think is good. Caldwell is a guy that was predominantly known as a player's coach, just unfortunately not a great X's and O's schemer and tactician Jim Caldwell gives Frank Reich another veteran voice who's been around the league for a hot minute within his locker room, on his staff, so he can bounce ideas off of it. I think he's kind of to some degree, antithesis of Deuce Staley. Remember, Deuce Staley, the former Detroit running backs coach and offensive analyst, is now on board with Carolina. I do not believe that they have officially announced what his title is going to be.
Yeah, I've been looking. I haven't seen anything. Just that he's on the staff.
Just that he's on the staff, and we know that as of now. During the weekend, Carolina also hired former Carolina quarterback Josh McCown to come on as their new quarterbacks coach. It is his first NFL coaching role after being in the quarterback, played in 102 career games over 16 seasons, spent time with 9 different teams. His last season was 2019 with the Eagles. He did play QB for the Panthers back in 2008, 2009. So now we know the staff for the Panthers looks like this. Offensively, the only known coach outside of Frank Reich is right now Josh McCown as the quarterback's coach at this point. For the defense, we know that Ejiro Evero is the defensive coordinator. Dom Capers has signed on as the senior defensive assistant, and Peter Hansen will be your linebackers coach. We know that Jim Caldwell is a senior assistant, and we know that Deuce Staley is on board Frank Reich's staff, though we do not know the title of his position yet. And one of the things that stood out to me during Frank Reich's introductory press conference, one of the things that I very much liked, is Reich said 2 things that kind of played off of each other. The first thing he said is, I am not going out just to hire a bunch of dudes that I've coached with in the past, right? I'm not trying to build the Frank Reich good old boys club. I don't want to just have a bunch of my buddies in the office. I want to have a bunch of good football coaches. And Frank Reich has, for the most part, been doing that. Most of these guys do not have experience coaching under or alongside Frank Reich. The second thing is, he said, I am looking for diversity of thought in my coaching staff, right? I'm looking at different guys from different backgrounds who bring different schools of thought to the table. Well, on offense, you got McCown, a former NFL quarterback with a lot of experience under his belt. You got Deuce Staley, a former NFL running back turned running backs coach. McCown, likely going to be a little bit more level-headed as a QB mentor. Staley, much more energetic, known for running up and down the sideline, getting the boys hype, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a good dichotomy. On defense, you've got Ejiro Evero, young cat, guy that's only called signals for a single year, but was very much a hot commodity. And in order to kind of take advantage of the youth and exuberance of Ejiro Evero, you pair him up with Dom Capers, a guy who's been around the league for a really, really, really long time. He has 36 years of NFL coaching experience with 10 different teams, served as head coach or defensive coordinator for 24 of those 36 across 6 clubs, has produced 29 different players that were named either an Associated Press All-Pro or Pro Bowler over that period of time. He has obviously been with Carolina first, head coach at Carolina at one point, then went to Houston from 2001 to 2005. He was the defensive coordinator for Green Bay 2019 to 17, Miami in 2006, Jacksonville in 99-2000, and Pittsburgh back from 95 through 98. He's a multi-time AP Coach of the Year as both the head and position coach. Dom Capers brings quite literally decades of experience in the NFL, and you pair him up with Ejiro Evero, a guy who kind of understands the new style of the game, the new way players coached and are coached and coordinate. You know, again, I know, Lonzo, that I'm kind of at this spot, maybe being overly optimistic, right? Maybe I'm trying to spin gold out of straw with this. But Frank Reich has hit on two things that he said he was going to hit on. Not bringing a bunch of guys he's coached with before to build a club full of yes men, and to hire guys from all different backgrounds to give him, at any given point in any given situation, a wealth of different thoughts and processes to meld together into what is going to become the Carolina Panthers coaching strategy under Frank Reich. Like I said, I might be reaching here, Zoe, but I really like the staff that Frank Reich's pulling together right now.
It's another one of those things that looks good on paper. It does look really good.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I mean, just from you got your young represented, you got your old represented, you got your mid represented, you got all age groups represented with amounts of experience and some ties to Carolina, others not so much. There's still at least one big hire to happen, and then one player move to happen, and then we're going to know kind of what we got. But things seem to be going pretty well so far.
The staff appears well put together. You've got youth, you've got age, you've got guys that have been head coaches working with guys that haven't. You got exciting coordinators that were HC targets elsewhere that have showed up to build their rep. Here's the thing. You look at a guy like Ejiro Evero at the defensive coordinator spot. Evero was considered, in fact, I think he was one of either 2 or 3 guys who had interviewed for every single vacant head coaching position. Indy, Houston, Arizona, Carolina. He interviewed for every open head coaching position. That doesn't happen unless you are well on your way to becoming an HC. Carolina ended up snagging him as the DC for 1 year after leaving Denver, a place that, by the way, sucked offensively and was carried predominantly by their defense under Ejiro Evero. That's a good hire. Now, of course, I acknowledge the fact, right? I acknowledge the fact that with Evero, you're probably getting 1 year out of him, right? He is a head coach next year. Somewhere, he's going to be given a crack at the visor. I don't have any doubt about that. As much, Lonzo, as we want to chase the division this year, and we should, the division's open, right? Unless New Orleans or Atlanta stumbles butt first into a quarterback situation that works out. If you look at the teams as they're constructed today, Carolina should be the front runner for the NFC South next year. But if I plugged Carolina into the NFC East, they are not a front runner next year. If I plug them into the NFC West, they are not a front runner next year. And if I plug them into the NFC North, they are only a front runner if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay. In which case, maybe they're a front runner in the North. Maybe. But I would even say Minnesota's probably still got a leg up on them, despite their inevitable playoff crash and burn annually. But in the South, they are the front runner. They are absolutely the team that looks to have the best angle on winning a divisional crown next year. In any other division, next year, Lonzo, would be a development year. First year head coach, putting together a team, putting together a staff, putting together chemistry, finding what works and what doesn't. In any other NFC division, next year is, I'm not going to say it's a wash year, but in any other division, I don't go in with high expectations. Because the South is so bad overall, Carolina's going in with playoff intentions, and if that means I get Ejiro Evero for a single year, I will take a guy that was so good at DC that he was the one of 2 or 3 guys to interview for every head coaching position, ask one great year to have him make it to the playoffs, see what you can pull together out of this defense, and then when he's done, hopefully you've built the defense so good that you get pick of the litter out of DC candidates for the year after that.
The defense was already good. They just need to be more consistent, and if you can raise them another level, awesome. And even if it is only for 1 year. But I do have a question for you. As bad as the NFC South is a bad quarterback choice, does it take it away from you?
No.
Because the Panthers are built to win this thing.
They sure
They're
are.
good everywhere else but quarterback. So could a bad quarterback choice cost you winning the South?
A bad quarterback will cost you the South. An average quarterback, you can still win the division. Like I said, unless Atlanta or New Orleans.
So what you're saying is Carolina didn't even have an average quarterback this year.
No, I think they had an okay quarterback.
Because the
but they
team's
were-
going to basically be the same, but the division is no longer going to have Tom Brady. And the Panthers had a chance to actually win the division this year
Sure
and
did.
didn't do it. If they got to have a
And
quarterback.
Why didn't they do it? Who beat them to take it away? The only quarterback in the league
No,
last year.
Steve Wilkes beat them.
Hey, so you blame it on whoever you want.
yeah.
The game that they lost was quarterbacks by
But
Tom Brady.
you know who didn't win it for them? The quarterback.
I
So
agree.
you've got to be better than what you had last year.
So I do think the defense is better under Ejiro Evero, right? I think they improve under Evero. I think that with the rotating casting crew of guys filling in at different spots after Wilkes got promoted to interim HC, I think there was a lot going on that kind of triggered the inconsistency of the Carolina defense last year. I think Ejiro Evero kind of stabilizes that. I think the inconsistency goes away and the defense is better. The run game under Frank Wright should be much better. And the run game under Deuce Staley should be much better this year. At the end of the day, Carolina next year, unless they just absolutely bleeping hit on a quarterback, right? Unless they get Lamar or Aaron Rodgers, unless they bring in Jimmy G and he's like, yo, I am that dude. Unless they just completely whiff on a quarterback, Carolina, as that texter said earlier in the show, Carolina should be carried by a run game and defense to the playoffs. Maybe not a Super Bowl, but to the NFC South crown. Like I said, and texter just said, Rob, the Falcons will have the third most space in free cap space next year. Correct. And that's why I said the threat to Carolina to me is not Tampa. It's not New Orleans, because while New Orleans could hit on a quarterback, they're cap locked right now. They can't really do anything else. And they're probably going to have to rotate some of their better players off the roster to clear up space. The biggest threat in the NFC South next year is the Atlanta Falcons. But as I've also said multiple times, until the Falcons stop being the Falcons, I'm just going to assume that they're the Falcons every year. Now, if they nail a quarterback, right? If they make a OMG draft day move and get a dude, then maybe I feel a little bit different about it. But unless Carolina gets a bad quarterback, an average quarterback can be carried by the defense and the running back to a title for the division. A good or great quarterback will pace the division. I mean, will just smoke everybody else. That's why this is so important. That's why I said Jimmy G's the dude. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap this show up. My name is Rob Brown. Directly across from me is the great one, Lonzo, and you are listening to the Rob Brown Show. You are listening to the Fan Upstate.
Never gonna happen. I mean,
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. After winning his second Super Bowl MVP award in 4 years, all that was left was after the Birds. That's where the Chiefs quarterback spent he and his teammates are happy to prove wrong all the people who wrote the Chiefs off after the trade of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, no one did that.
I'm not a guy that's gonna
Yeah, everyone did
No,
that.
Everyone.
Everyone
Everybody.
did. You try to be
Kansas City versus the world.
revisionist again because it's popular right now to say that Kansas City was never. They could not mention all the way. Kansas City is going to be picked third, I believe it was in the AFC West by all the experts because
Who picked
Tyreek
Kansas
Hill,
City third. Who?
ESPN,
No one picked
Fox.
Kansas City third in your division. No one did. That.
There's
Find me one example.
there's effort that it requires for me to go back and prove it, and it's not
Correct.
worth it. It's not worth it.
All right. Well, then I don't.
I'd
believe
rather
you.
just let you think you're right.
I don't.
I'd just
believe
rather
that.
let you think you're right.
I
just
cannot
don't.
believe who. I can't believe anybody. You may have had one or two people who picked the Chargers over the Chiefs, maybe, but not third. Nobody picked two teams out of that division to go.
Most of those people picked the Chargers to win the whole thing, and the Chiefs would go downhill. They would regress because Tyreek Hill was their offense. I'm going to make a point this year when the media decides who's going to do everything to point out to you, and so I can remind you. That does make me mad because you're saying I'm lying,
No, I'm saying I don't believe you.
which means you're
No, it
saying
does
I'm
not.
lying.
We've had
It
this
does.
conversation.
Yeah, and most people agreed with me.
And they're all wrong.
Okay. All right.
An appeal to mass
All-
is not
all right.
make you right.
You're right.
I can say I don't believe you without saying you're lying.
I apologize for going against the totalitarianism
Nope.
of the room.
Nope.
Lonzo looks down towards the ground where he's supposed to.
Know your role, jabroni. Yeah, I want one team to win the championship. And somebody grab a mic and be like, I want to thank everybody who respected us. I know all y'all picked us to win, and I want to express my gratitude for the respect we got.
I'm sure you are sexy, Roger, but what does it mean to be dead sexy? Is that like corpse sexy? I don't
I'm
know.
so sexy, I make everybody dead.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I think you all know what I'm doing. Instead of working like I should be after the show's over, I'm going to go in and all I need to do is find one. That's all I got to do is find one, which is real easy on the internet to find one that said it. And then we're good.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year. Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer. Is this for real?
Or to give the audio engineer some respect.
I don't do that.
It's because all that meanness in your heart.
I'm tired of the disrespect.
You're just so angry. All right, time for Twitter trending topics, where I tell Rob what is trending, and he will let us know because he is all knowing, which you would know if you watched the stream, during the break, how all knowing he is. All right, the first thing that's trending is Seth Rollins.
Seth freaking Rollins. And what?
That's why he's trending. It's exactly because some NFL players have worn it, and I believe some NBA players also.
I have no doubt because they are not. So for those of you that don't know what we're talking
How much
about,
do they cost? I wonder.
$1,800.
Are you serious?
That's pre-sale.
Oh,
They are already up. There are people who got so. All right,
I need me some of the Mario boots.
let me explain this for people. There is a trend going on right now amongst professional athletes, and Seth freaking Rollins is one of them, of wearing these giant red Ronald McDonald Super Mario Brothers Goomba smashing boots.
By the way, they're closer to video game boots than they
Yes.
are clown boots because clown boots are extended. These boots at least fit over their shoes. They're not.
like giant Lego boots.
They
all
are.
right.
They are.
They're ridiculous. And right now you can buy them. I don't know who makes them, and I don't particularly give a boat. They are selling for $1,800 right now. And the resale market, because basically you put in and you get an email that says, okay, you're acknowledged. You are the 274th person that will be allowed to buy these $1,800 clown video game shoes. People are putting that email up and saying, who wants to buy them from me when I get mine? And they are turning around, Lonzo, for $3,600 to wear those. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I have hit my get off my lawn moment for the day.
You know, it's worse than spending the money for those boots and wearing them on national TV.
Knowing they cost $1,800.
No, it's getting curb stomped with them. That's what's worse. And the Miz got curb stomped by those boots. Mike. The next thing that's trending is World War III. I don't know why. I don't know why World War III might be trending.
Everybody just take a deep breath, right? Like everybody just take a deep breath. We're fine. All right.
Are we?
We're fine.
Okay.
Everybody relax.
I hope so.
Here's what social media has a lot of good going for it, right? A lot of good. It's good ways to communicate, spread ideas, and help other people and get messages out that otherwise wouldn't have a channel. But it has a lot of bad to it as well. And one of the things that is bad on social media is the people who think they are brilliant and have just figured it out, spreading their garbage. I swear to you, Lonzo, if I hear the phrase psyop one more time, I'm going to punch myself or someone else.
Okay. Well, I will say this.
It's all a psyop.
If I look out the window and Red Dawn is happening, I'm heading to engineering because there's lots of pointy objects in there. So we might have a little bit of a shot.
If you are the person who uses phrases like psyop, all I have to say to you is prove it. Prove it. You can't. You just go, oh, I know the truth. I know the truth. I'm like David Duchovny, baby. The truth is out there. I want to believe.
By the way,
No,
really
you
quick,
don't. Prove it.
One last thing. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, indeed. Well, I guess we should have probably played
There
on
was
that theme today.
there was no love in this room today, but it doesn't mean there's love doesn't exist in at least one of our
I
hearts.
love you, Lonzo. You're the best. Yes, happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Gentlemen, don't hit your girl with, I don't have to do it today because I love you every day.
The holiday. Do not fall in that trap.
My lady friend woke up to a dozen roses. She's being brought to dinner tonight. You know why? Because I want her to understand that I know I don't deserve her.
Because you're a Los Lorio.
Because if you do something every day, there's nothing special to it. Do something special for your girl today. Oh, and ladies, do something special for your fellas. We want affection too. Someone cuddle me. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown
It's
Show.
not happening.
And the fan upstate. Later, brother. I just like to make it awkward right at the very end.
You
Hey,
did
everybody. You're all spectacular people, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.